from Joni Lum this morning.
Yes,
I
down in
caught some of
Dalton.
it in the 9 o'clock hour. The cutest little
They
peanut
were adorable.
going to kindergarten.
I am anxious to see Caitlin's. I wonder if she did the whole sign. You know, this is a kind of a relatively new
so.
phenomenon
Yeah.
where you have the sign first day of. But that's
Who's
exciting
the teacher?
stuff.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh, so
Kleenex,
cute.
yeah, we'll check that. That's why she is conspicuously absent today. So we hope that Birdie's first day of school is going great. We got a lot to get to. Have you jumped on the whole ChatGPT/AI train?
Honestly, Anthony, only as of recently, and it's really to do like wedding stuff because I need like advice on wording and like where to find things. So only recently, but I know a lot of people do.
I am like all in at this point. I've got like 5 different like separate chats going. One is for like mental health. One is for like wellness. One is for like work related stuff. One is just like miscellaneous. Like it's. Today I asked it, what did I ask today? About I think something having to do with Daryl Hall and John Oates. The Hall and Oates. It can get, I mean, it's like Google on steroids.
And guess what? That can now be used against you.
It can now be used against you. Mm-hmm. So here is what the deal is. Earlier this week, Sam Altman, who is the founder / CEO, just the grand dude in charge at OpenAI.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a very big deal. He so this is the company that came up with ChatGPT. In an interview, I thought he kind of almost like casually dropped the fact that like, oh, by the way, we're still figuring out the legalese, and you can be
subpoenaed what you're using or asking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What you're entering. Those chats on ChatGPT, those can be subpoenaed. If you get charged with a crime, you know, they can seize your things like your cell phone. And so that might come as a shock to some people who think, hey, we're using this thing as a little therapist. So we're going to dive into the legal implications of your chats with ChatGPT with Dahlia Saper, who is she is an expert. She's an attorney who specializes in all these online things. So
we can't give too much away. We can't give too much away. But there's also another shocking topic, Northwestern study that has uncovered the dark side of science, they say. So we'll get to that as well. But first, we got to talk about pizza.
Pizza. Okay. This is number 4 for you.
This is number. Right? I think this is number 4. Maybe our live studio audience can tell me for sure. Yeah, we are 4.
4.
And you know what, Anthony? This is like the best assignment ever. I'm so thankful that they brought me on this. Gabby's Too Nice Pizza review. I know you and Caitlin got mad at me last week.
No, not
because
mad.
Because I keep on throwing out very fair scores. All right, I do like the pizza and I do like the people, but this is our second bite review. I've told you about this. So we go to pizza places here in Chicagoland where Dave Portnoy from Barstool has been to, and he's rated them. And we kind of go to these pizzerias and we give them an opportunity to rebuttal, like, hey, is this fair? Why is it fair? Why isn't it fair? And they can tell us about the history of their restaurant, what makes them unique, give them a look around, talk about some specials they have. So it's a lot more than just taking a bite of the pizza as Dave Portnoy does and just giving it a review.
Exactly. And one thing that I thought was interesting from your most recent one, you visited Chicago's Pizza, is that the administrator of that particular facility explained to you that Dave Portnoy has very specific tastes. He likes the crispy bottom, he likes extra well done cheese, I believe. And so your guy said, hey, if we had known we can custom tailor our pizza. And if we had known that, because I think Dave gave Chicago's Pizza like a 6.2 or 6.3.
Yeah, I think so.
Somewhere in the 6s, so they were not too happy about that. You revisited. Oh my gosh, that looks so good.
It was good.
It looks so good. All right, so what do we got cooking today?
So now we're going over to the Northwest side today. We're going to Dino's Pizza, and you're going to fall in love with these ladies as much as I did, but I'm going to let us take it away.
Okay.
We are at Dino's Pizza in Norwood Park on the northwest side of the city, and this has been a staple for over 50 years. I'm with Bruna and Bianca. So Dave Portnoy came, and they rated you guys a 7.4. Do you think that was fair?
We're happy with it. He was very nice. He had lots of good things to say about us, especially being a family all working together. I know he doesn't care for Chicago pizza as much as other pizza, so.
Oh, he's a New York guy.
Yeah, he does cheese thin crust, and we offer thin,
pan, and stuffed.
We were trying to get him to try a BLT pizza. We have a BLT pizza out of this world. We're gonna order a cheese pizza and a BLT. This is my nephew Joey, my husband
Joey.
Derek. They're gonna be making the delicious pizzas for you guys.
How did this place start? And it's all family working in the back and making these pizzas.
Our parents started back in 1968, Mom and Dad.
Sauce and dough are our recipe from my mom and dad. I grew up here.
Yeah, and I was 12, and we both got involved right away.
And our husbands now work here. Her son works here. All our kids worked here at some point.
You guys keep it all the same, which is a good thing, because I think people recognize that. And Dave recognized that. First thing he said, we never see him that chipper, is, oh, these people were so nice. What was your reaction to hearing that?
We loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it's because we treat everyone like family. This is ours, so our blood is in here. Our love goes out to everything we do.
Seeing this picture here of you and Dave Portnoy, what was your reaction to seeing this guy?
I was shocked. I asked him if he would like something to drink, what would they like, or if they would like to sit down and have a lunch and enjoy the time they were waiting for the pizza.
I was on vacation the week he came. My son and I would have known him immediately because we have been in contact with his company for 2 years.
Wow.
And he finally came in and we're away.
My husband came out. He asked, how did you find us? What brought you here? He goes, I just got off the plane at O'Hare and I Googled good pizza near me and you came up. A lot of people bring him up. Oh, Dave was here. We want to try the pizza. And we're selling way more BLTs. Just by him mentioning BLTs, because people like BLT pizzas.
Okay, we had the greatest time with Bianca and Bruna and Dino's Pizza here on the Northwest side. We are talking this cheese tavern style pizza that smells good, looks good, and I'm telling you, after 57 years, I think their dad on the front here would be very proud. Okay, I'm gonna give it a bite. Dave Portnoy, they gave a 7.4. It looks good, like I said, smells good, awesome inside. It's perfect. Second bite review, Dino's Pizza, 10 out of 10. I can promise you I'm gonna finish this at home.
Oh, I love it. I love
Were you
it.
surprised?
I love it.
Were you surprised by my review?
Four straight 10s. This is great. Here's the thing, Gabby, is there is something about that like ending shot that you've been doing where
Are you salivating right
yes,
now?
yes, it just looks so good. It's also a function of the fact that for me, let's see, it's like 7 hours
I haven't
into
had
my
a
day.
thing to eat today.
And so like, you know, I eat my breakfast, but like it's the timing on it too. That really, I want Bianca and Bruna to be my like honorary adoptive aunts, first of all.
You know what, I think they will definitely take you in on that because they were so sweet. And like they said, they treat everyone like family. And you, Anthony, I'm telling you, I'm not just saying this because we're on TV and talking about them. They do treat you like family. They welcomed us with open arms. And, you know, to hear them talk about their dad who worked so hard, their parents who worked so hard to make Dino's what it is, he has to be so proud.
So that's up, where exactly is it located? Because I
think it was
Norwood
Park.
To be in
I
that
believe it was Norwood Park.
Norwood Park.
Yeah, so on the northwest side.
Norwood Park. Sure.
I think it was Norwood Park. Great place. Yeah, it was awesome. You heard her say that they asked Dave, oh, how'd you find us? And he said, oh, we just Googled when we got out of O'Hare and looked up good pizza places to go to. So since they had a good Google review, that's how he picked them.
I
think we all are under the impression like, oh, they do a lot of research, you know, like they're putting a lot of thought of where they're going.
They're literally
Maybe
just almost
not
throwing
as
a dart.
Thought as we thought they were.
Yeah, like throwing a dart at the Chicago map. the thing is, what I was intrigued, but they said they'd been trying to get him to come
that's
for
what I'm
2
saying,
years. So
like-
that's what I thought. Oh, are pizza places lobbying for him to come? But no, I actually think that makes it more authentic in a way,
I kinda think
because
so too, yeah.
because there's no politics behind how they chose the places. Now, I noticed the sauce there when they were swirling it on.
Yeah.
It looked, at least in camera, it looked a little darker than your, like it wasn't like that bright, almost neon orange. Like it looked a little bit darker. Tell me about the sauce
So
there.
you remember it was a couple weeks ago, but from what I remember, it wasn't like overly saucy, right? You know, you have some pizzas where you bite in and like you're getting a bunch of
sauce-heavy.
sauce.
Yeah.
Sauce heavy more than cheese. No, this was a good mix. This is a really good mix. And you saw the undercarriage looked good. That's what Dave calls the bottom of the
undercarriage,
pizza.
the nether region of the, and crispiness factor.
Exactly. The
Was it
crispiness factor was there. That BLT pizza that they, mentioned, that they said was very popular, there's a reason it's really popular.
So you did try that
it's
too.
It's good stuff. And usually like a BLT sandwich is not the first thing I'd order on a menu.
Right.
And I was a little hesitant when they said, oh, we're going to make you one, and had me try it in front of them. It was really good. I mean, at the end of the day, it's mayonnaise on there, and I most people like mayonnaise, and if you do,
you're not a mayonnaise person.
No, I do like mayonnaise,
Okay.
so there wasn't much complaints.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
It was
Now I get where you're going
delicious.
with that,
It was
yeah.
perfect.
Okay, so you are so you're four reviews in, 4 10s. Do you know where you're going next, or is that TBD?
TBD.
Okay.
We don't give out our secrets either.
I liked the way they cut I think most of the tavern style pizzas are cut. My sister-in-law calls it party cut, where it's the squares instead of the triangles. I like that. There's something about that makes it more fun. I think party cut is a good. So that also.
I believe so. But maybe it's a different chef, a different person in the back, a different family member, because they said a lot of their family members, as you kind of met in that video, work back there. Maybe it's a different cut, Anthony. I don't know.
Okay, well, Gabby, I wish I was always at work when you come back from those places, because have you been able to bring back the leftover pie?
But usually it's
for
the end of
whole
my
class?
day, so I'm like, I take a couple bites, and then I give it to the folks that are here. But by then, you're out of here. You're gone.
Listen, Peanut Gallery, Gabby has an upcoming nuptials.
Yeah, and you guys are making me eat all this pizza.
She's got every pizza assignment.
What's funny is that they do too. They also have upcoming nuptials.
There's a lot of wedding bells in our future. It's very inspiring. If you guys need any wedding advice,
marriage advice.
Been through the whole thing. You're getting married, actually. I don't know if this is like TMI or something, or you don't want to, but like right near my wedding date as
September
well.
6th. Mm-hmm.
September 8th. It's
coming.
such a beautiful time to get married.
Yeah.
Because it's not too hot, presumably. When everyone starts getting
groovy.
Yeah.
Getting their dance
It'll
on.
get nice. It'll get nice and cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's going to be a good day. I'm going to put it out there. Yeah.
All right. So ChatGPT, for all those folks out there that have recently incorporated ChatGPT or other AI into your daily routine, almost using it as a substitute for Google, a substitute for therapy, perhaps substitute for a lawyer. We are going to be speaking with a lawyer coming up, because Sam Altman disclosed earlier this week that indeed, if you get charged with a crime,
they're looking at it.
Yeah, you could have your chats with ChatGPT subpoenaed. So we're going to be speaking after this short break with Dahlia Saper, who is a lawyer who specializes in all things internet. We will be right back with her right after this break.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. We have a topic that obviously Anthony is very passionate about. Anthony, because I like what you've been saying. It seems like you've done your research.
We're talking about ChatGPT, and how did this start for me? Oh yeah, in one of my text threads with a couple of fellas, sometimes I like to scrawl little rhymes to them. You know, it's just how I entertain me. And I wrote one, and one of my friends responded back, "Was that AI?" I'm like, "No, how does the AI work?" You know, and there's like, "No, ChatGPT, like you can ask it to come up with a poem like that, and it'll do it." You can find better ones. So I try, so they entered it, and they came up with a poem 10 times as good as mine, and ChatGPT had just done it. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna get on this tool." Since then, I've been like off to the races. I'm not even kidding. I ask it for like workout advice, nutrition. I had it come up with a meal plan for me.
I've heard of this many times.
And you can tweak it. Say, you know what, I take out more dairy for my breakfasts, and it'll republish. It's once it's almost addictive in a way.
But do you feel like this is taking away like your daily brain power that you put towards these things?
There are studies saying that it is taking away from our daily brain power, and this is a big issue actually going forward. We're going to be talking about parenting a little bit later in the show. And it is having an effect, apparently, according to scientific studies, that we're outsourcing a lot of our cognition to these AIs. But one more recent development is Sam Altman was recently interviewed saying that our chats with ChatGPT could, in theory, be subpoenaed. So that comes probably as a shock to a lot of us. You think you're typing into like a therapist or something, anonymous thing. Hey, this conversation's going nowhere. Perhaps not. So to help us sort through all of this, we are bringing in the principal attorney at Saper Law, Dahlia Saper. Great to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining us here on Chicago Now to discuss this relatively new phenomenon.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. We talk about AI all day, every day now.
Oh my gosh.
There isn't an industry that AI has not touched. And there isn't a concern that we haven't started to field from all of our clients, whether it's an IP concern, a privacy concern, a defamation concern. You know, there's cases where ChatGPT gives the wrong information about someone you may ask about. AI might hallucinate in the legal context. Lawyers have used it for case law research or briefs and included cases that don't exist because the lawyers didn't do their job. There's so many interesting scenarios, legal questions, ethical questions that have come from this new technology. And every time we have new technology, we're kind of in the same position. But AI specifically is kind of greater and accelerating faster than any other technology we've seen before.
It's truly unbelievable. Now, okay, so it caught my eye when I heard Sam Altman being interviewed about this, that your chats could actually be subpoenaed by law enforcement if they have a criminal case against certain individuals. Will you start off by telling us exactly what is a subpoena?
Okay, so a subpoena is a legal discovery tool. Usually it's not like everything you type at all times is always gonna get, requested. There usually has to be a reason, and the threshold for the government to come pursue you is higher than in a civil suit. But at its most basic, what it is, it's a request for information pursuant to a case. So you may not be even the party that's part of the case, but they need information from you to build the case. So in this, for example, here, Sam Altman's company might get a request from law enforcement that says that a crime has been committed. And just like we hear about Google searches, like how do you make a bomb? Just like Google in the past was asked to provide search history, OpenAI may be asked to provide chat history as it relates to the conduct of the person who's being sued, being prosecuted, whatever the case might be. And in that case, if you were an accomplice, or if you were, if you are the bad guy and you've put in something in there that doesn't look very good, that might be discoverable pursuant to a legally sanctioned, court-ordered subpoena.
So Dahlia, do we know, is ChatGPT getting a lot of requests, or are they having law enforcement come to them a lot and saying, "Hey, we need this information"? Did he hint at any of that?
The reason this has become kind of hot topic is because it's actually pursuant to an IP lawsuit that this has come up. And there's the New York Times, and as many others, but in particular the New York Times, has sued Sam Altman's company, OpenAI, and they said, we think that your large language learning model, LLM, is basically stealing all of the New York Times stuff. And we want to prove that it's really our stuff, in part by showing what kinds of search history the users of OpenAI might be inputting into the system. The typical policy of most of these tech companies, they don't sit on data for a long time. It's just expensive and unduly burdensome. And so they usually have a policy of deleting that kind of stuff every 30 days. Here, there was recently a court order where the judge was like, you know what, there might be evidence here. I don't really know what is and isn't like deletable. So I'm going to order OpenAI to indefinitely keep all chat logs that could be presented as evidence in this case. I think it's an extraordinary order. It means that now they have to keep all this data and maybe have to present it, and that might run afoul of various privacy laws that especially certain states, or most especially other countries, have when it comes to data that you put online.
So
and
for
we're
the
always talking
time
about
being,
storage too.
exactly.
That's going to be another
storage,
issue for them.
We've been doing a lot of stories about how people can't get water near these data centers because the data, and this is storage-wise. I mean, think about the volume of information. So just so we're clear, so Dalia, for the time being then, ChatGPT, OpenAI, they are storing everything, to your knowledge.
Yes. And so, I mean, but we always say, like, you're not going to use this to be a source of confidential advice, right? Just like you shouldn't expect any privacy when you're typing in things into your search box in a Google chat or even in an email. That's kind of long been established that an email isn't private, that can be subpoenaed if there's ever a lawsuit.
So this doesn't necessarily surprise you because they've been subpoenaing Google searches for years and years now.
Right, and you hear it in the news. It's like, oh, the bad guy was researching this horrible thing.
How to conceal a body or whatever.
Right,
how to get rid of a body.
Now forget Google. You're using ChatGPT. Just instead of telling you how to make a recipe, you might be asking how to commit a crime. And that might be discoverable if and when. So, and it's probably not the best. It's a great tool for making rhymes for tests with your friends. But it may not be the best tool when it comes to legal advice, medical advice, or anything that really you would otherwise have a privilege. If you call me up on the phone and you say, how do I hide the body? I'm not a criminal defense attorney. I don't do criminal law. But, a legal question, then what we talk about is private and no one can come and take that information from my files because it's attorney-client privilege covers that exchange. The same might be true with a therapist, any sort of doctor. So you have to think about when you're using it, how you're using it, and what are the repercussions of inputting this data into this large language model that might then use that data, regurgitate it, and spit it out in response to somebody else's chat.
So this could definitely unknowingly violate patient-client confidentiality by pasting some of this sensitive information into ChatGPT.
Absolutely. I mean, hospitals have training. I mean, lawyers in our office. It's one thing to ask ChatGPT to summarize a non-confidential agreement, especially in the before it's been signed. It's another to input confidential client case information and ask it to do certain things. There are commercial versions of AI tools that do provide you this private cloud, so to speak, this private space. Those are typically expensive. They're usually enterprise models. But that is the option for a company that does want to use and become more efficient using the tools that AI provides, but is concerned about the privacy issues that might arise by using a general.
Dalia, what do you think is on the horizon for this emerging technology, legally speaking? Because it feels a little bit like the Wild West right now. Could there be any legislation on the horizon that will better define exactly what our rights are and what the risks are?
It's it's such a great question. It's one I got 15, 20 years ago when I started my practice, when Facebook was a big deal and social media was a big deal, and we were going into court and explaining why a blog can be just as damaging as a regular news article. So the law is going to catch up. We're starting to see a patchwork of state laws, especially as they relate to deep fakes and the use of AI in a way that manipulates or uses someone's persona for a commercial purpose. That's one. Or for a bad purpose. Like there is a new federal law governing deep fakes as it relates to non-consensual pornography. So I think we're seeing two things. One, law specifically related to when and how you can use AI. And then two, regulations, especially if certain governmental offices or certain private businesses will say, just like there used to be social media policies, now there's AI policies. When can you use AI? How can you use AI? And where can that output live?
Well, you said that the legal system, they're catching up, and quickly, but are they keeping up with where AI is going and maybe is going in the future?
We're following all of these cases very closely. It's still a gray area. There's so many IP lawsuits. There's so many defamation lawsuits. There's so many cases where, like I mentioned, AI is used as evidence or as the source of the pleading, and it's been incorrect. So the answer is we're still in a wait and see mode. There's been no definitive ruling yet that everyone can point to. There has been some ruling around authorship, like who owns the output of the AI. A lot of creatives are using AI. A lot of authors are using AI. And so the question I get as an IP lawyer a lot of times is like, well, who owns it? If I use AI to make a song, if I use AI to write website content. And the answer is it might not be you, because if the AI did most of the heavy lifting, then that work product might not be protectable.
Yeah,
so we have to
the implications of that question are so widespread because that AI may be basing its decision on another artist or another writer that totally might file a claim later. Hey, no, that was me, and the AI got... All right, so Dahlia, one thing that occurs to me is that whole security breach with the Department of Defense, where they accidentally included that Atlantic reporter on, I believe it was a Telegram or Signal chat. Yeah. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Okay, so these texting platforms, these messaging platforms, some of them are now encrypted. So there's an expectation of privacy. And I don't know if those records can be subpoenaed or if they just disappear forever because they're all encrypted or they're undetectable. Do you foresee there being a version of AI which is like those messaging apps, which is completely encrypted, or an AI where it gets deleted from all servers as soon as the interaction happens?
I think it's definitely a business model that would be developed right now in this particular case involving the New York Times. That's not an option for them unless they're able to appeal that order. The technological challenges that butt up against the legal procedural challenges is something my firm deals with on a daily basis. And I'll give you a better example. We deal a lot with revenge porn, or we deal with just even simple defamation or infringement, copyright infringement. In any case, when you want to start those lawsuits, you have to figure out who's doing the bad thing, who's posting the defamatory content, who's created and posted the revenge porn, whatever, or the infringing design. If that person is doing it from an open IP address, or like if they're in a hotel or in a Starbucks or somewhere where their actions are tied to a static location without getting too technical, sometimes those cases can't even be brought. Sometimes there's no justice because we don't even know who the bad guy is, and you need to know who the bad guy is before you open a lawsuit. So and that's why you see things like Bitcoin and digital currencies, and all of these things can be used, have great power for good, are also being used for bad. And as a society, we have to figure out what the line is and how much we're going to allow, because, does the good outweigh the bad? What are the challenges? There's no great answer to that question.
You've got your work cut out for you.
I was going to say, you are going to be one busy gal.
Yes. Thank you so much for navigating us through this kind of uncharted territory. I think it's a good reminder to everyone to just be aware what you are typing in to these.
I mean, use it. I just used AI to plan my entire trip to Croatia. It was amazing. I was like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to leave then. Like, tell me. I don't care if anyone knows. I'm sharing that with everyone because it's such a good itinerary. So there's definitely great use cases.
Right.
AI is a phenomenal travel agent if you give it the right prompts. So
it can come up huge. Dahlia Saper, thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Dahlia.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Before we went to Italy, you know, I was in Italy a few weeks ago. We showed up to Florence, not in the touristy part of town.
Okay.
Show up to our hotel. It is gorgeous. It's an old mansion with these fresco, like old original frescoes on the ceiling. I'm like, Maggie, where did you find this place? She's like, ChatGPT.
She did.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
so
if
her
Dahlia's
trip to Croatia.
if Maggie's doing it, hey, my honeymoon is going to be
It was.
planned
You
through
could just.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. You were mentioning you have certain administrative tasks that you need to plan your wedding too.
Well, you know, she made a good point, making sure that you're really thinking before you type it in, you know, what kind of advice or what kind of information you're seeking, because I think it's gonna continue and get more and more strict, and they're gonna have a lot of information of ours. Indeed. All right, hey, let's talk about another topic, something that's trending on TikTok, a new parenting style, if there aren't enough. Me saying that has not anyone's parent. But we're going to talk about one that I think is perfect and exactly what my mom used. F around and find out.
F-A-F-O, F around and find out. This is a new, okay, so there's like the authoritative model, the gentle parenting model, and now the F-A-F-O.
F around and find out. That's all you need.
And so we are going to unpack this whole new trend with a certified parenting coach when we come back right after this, everybody. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Chicago Now, 1035. You might have heard the phrase F around and find out, making its rounds on social media, but it's not about internet drama necessarily. It's actually a new parenting style that people are talking about. And we have with us to tell us all about it is PCI certified parent coach Dana Hurt. So let's talk about it. What does this mean, F around and find out? It kind of seems like it's all in the name.
Yeah, well, there's definitely, you know, in my opinion, this is really in reaction to gentle parenting. I think parents are tired of, you know, kind of the way gentle parenting has morphed into, it's all about the kids' feelings and please stop hitting mommy. And so now it's like F around and find out. Let's deal with natural consequences. Let's teach you to figure out what's gonna happen if you do that. And, you know, to the concept at its base is let's think about what are natural consequences. If you refuse to put on a coat, you're going to go outside, you're going to be cold, right? That seems like a reasonable approach. But I think where we may have pushed too far is already with the F around and find out is putting kids in potentially unsafe situations.
So this differs. It may be nuanced, but there's the authoritative parenting model. How might that differ from your understanding of the FAFO approach, FAFO versus authoritative?
Well, I think, Anthony, what you're seeing is basically the modern day equivalent of authoritative parenting or authoritarian parenting, because we've seen over decades of parenting swings. There was really strict parenting, children are to be seen, not heard, and then we went to permissive parenting. And if you remember, well, you don't remember, but when I was a kid, the TV said at 10 o'clock, do you know where your kids are? Because people didn't know where their kids are. They needed the TV to remind them that their kids were out there. And I think that with parenting, the pendulum swings from one extreme to the other. And so I think the gentle parenting craze was really about making sure kids' feelings were seen, and that you were validating their experience, and kids felt that they had choices and that their voice mattered. But it got pushed so far that I think parents are now like, enough. Like, I can't have my 3-year-old running this house. So now you're seeing the pendulum swing back to what is really authoritative parenting, which is F around and find out, with this added piece of, what are the natural consequences of your decision making?
So like, hey, if you don't, one example of that, I mean, like you just mentioned, so if a kid refuses to put their winter coat on and it's 0 degrees out, this model would be, okay, have it your way. Go outside, we're locking the door, and you're going to freeze your tush off.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right, but the issue here is, like, think about it when you have a little at home. If the stove is hot, you're not going to take the F around and find out approach to the stove, right? You're not going to say, touch it, see what if the burner feels like. That's not a great way for them to learn, right?
They could lose a finger.
You could lose a finger. You could have a serious burn. You don't want DCFS coming to your house.
Right.
There's a problem with that. But in terms of the coat, that's a different dynamic, because you for sure cannot say to your kid, you're not cold? Don't wear a coat outside, but bring the coat, right? Don't take the approach that, like, you know that the second they're outside in 5 minutes, even though they don't want to be bundled up when they're inside. No kid wants to put their coat on and their hat and their gloves and their boots. And it's hard for us as parents to wrestle our kids into that anyway. But once they're outside, you have the coat. And when they get outside and they say, Dad, I'm cold, you're like, here you go, buddy. I told you it was going to be cold, but you're not like, I told you so. You're going to be cold all afternoon because your coat's at home. Should have thought of that. Like, that's not realistic developmentally for a little kid to be able to make that connection.
So to the person that says, no, that's exactly why I want to do this, because he's never going to make that mistake again. He's never going to touch the stove. He's never going to touch a hot stove again. Never going to leave the house without his coat again. What would you say to that parent who said, that's exactly why I want to do it?
I would say to that parent, what's the age of your child, right? Because what is reasonable for your kid in terms of being able to help make those connections, and what is a fair expectation, and what are the potential negative consequences? So no coat all day at the park, you really could have serious consequences. It's not like the olden days, like you're going to catch a cold. No, you could have frostbite in our weather and here in Chicago. So there's real consequences. So letting them go out without a coat is fine if you bring the coat. If you sign them up for a little ski class up at Devil's whatever that's called up there, and you bring them up there and there's no coat and they spend the whole day on the mountain, there's serious consequences to that decision, and then you're culpable because you, as the grown-up with a fully developed frontal lobe, you knew better. It's not a realistic expectation for the child without that fully developed frontal lobe to be able to anticipate consequences. So you, as the parent, need to anticipate consequences and be able to have that, be affecting how you make decision making, which isn't to say you can't have some aspects of this. Like, gentle parenting is an extreme I also think is problematic. I think we need to be reassuring parents that there's no magic bullet, right? There's no one way to parent. In my practice, I'm not teaching parents the Dana-Hurt parenting method. I'm teaching them to think about what their core values are, what are they trying to accomplish, how do they want their children to look at 18 when they're launchable, and how are we stepping in those skills. So I have no problem with you saying, you don't want to put on a coat, fine. And in 2 minutes when your little kid looks at you and says, Daddy, I'm cold, you hand them their coat. That to me is not problematic. But to not bring the coat at all, that's taking it too far.
Very sensible.
What about some other realistic scenarios, like with the coat, with the stove, where that parents often encounter, and how would you respond to these scenarios?
I think that, again, for me, when my work, I'm always thinking about what is the age of the child? So what are the developmental expectations that are reasonable for that child at that age? You think about the difference between what a toddler is capable of in terms of anticipating consequences and thinking through their actions. What's a teenager capable of? I mean, listen, if you I talk to parents all day, every day. If they say to me, my kid went out Friday night with their friends, they got drunk, they came home, they were vomiting, and they went out the next day and did it again. How come they didn't learn? It's like, why wouldn't they have figured out, that didn't feel good Saturday morning? Why am I replicating it not even 12 hours later? Because their brain development isn't there. They're not connecting those dots, and that's our job as parents, is to be that connector, is to help them think about the consequences of their actions, which is why boundaries are so important, right? We set the boundaries and then the kids operate within boundaries. Think of it like bowling. Like when they're little, we put the bumpers up, right? Because we want the ball to stay in the lane. Once they can control the ball staying in the lane, we don't take the lane away. It's not willy-nilly, now just throw it and hope for something. There's still a lane. And that's our job as parents, is to create the lane. So I think it's very seductive to just want to have less responsibility, because parents are being inundated with all these different things they should be doing. And if you're a good parent, you'll do this and you'll do that. Good parenting is knowing what you care about, what your values are, and making decisions tethered to those values.
On that note, when we were in break, you told me and Gabby how the pendulum tends to swing in very extreme directions, from the authoritative model to the gentle parenting. Rule of thumb, you've made the point repeatedly that this is an individual thing. What are your individual values? But how much credence do you want, as a general rule, parents out there to pay attention to these trends here? FAFO, authoritative, gentle parenting.
I think the value of the trend is that the value of any extreme is that you see what is the goal. Fundamentally, the goal of F around and find out parenting is you want kids to learn natural consequences. There's value to that. That's how you develop a sense of agency. I make decisions and there's effects of my decisions. I don't study for a test. I don't do well in the test. I stay up too late. I have trouble getting up in the morning. These are things we're all learning as adults, right? We don't make the best decisions. We might stay out too late and then we're like, ugh, alarm's going off at 5 to get to the studio. And you learn, maybe I won't do that again. Right?
My brain was not fully developed in college, obviously, because I would make the same drinking mistake on back-to-back nights.
And in your defense,
wasn't there.
Neuroscience, when you were that age, we thought the brain was fully developed in early 20s. Now neuroscience is telling us it's late 20s. So you didn't stand a chance. We all are learning. So the benefit to me of these trends is it does highlight the key areas. Gentle parenting highlighted the need to be empathic and validate our kids' emotional experience. Not just, I'm not worried about your feelings. I am worried about your feelings. And let's hold on to the dialectic. Two things can be true at the same time. I do care about your feelings, and there are house rules, right? None of us, when our kid was struggling to get in the car seat, would say, okay, you don't like being in the car seat, you don't have to be.
And then we get in an accident.
F around and find
now you know to wear your seatbelt next time with your broken neck.
Really dangerous.
Right.
Yeah.
But so all these extremes have value to the the core concepts of what is the main issue. But if we can grab those core ideas, like let's validate our kids' emotional experience and yet set boundaries, not please stop hitting mommy, but I won't let you hit mommy, right? So let's pull gentle parenting back, F around and find out, you're gonna go outside in the cold and you're not gonna have a coat. No, I'm going to bring the coat, and when you realize you're cold, I'm going to have the coat.
Pull that back into
moderation. So there's value, moderation. But there's value to the extremes because it is important for kids to learn some autonomy and decision making and consequences of choices. And there's value in validating their feelings and teaching them how to manage these big feelings, which is something we all are struggling with. I mean, have you been to the DMV lately? We have to learn to manage big feelings, right? And they're experts at it because they're dealing with all of our animus when we show up.
Makes super, so much sense. This is so sensible. I also believe that there's a political metaphor to be made here in terms of extremes. We need to come back to the middle, everybody.
I think we do, Anthony.
Yeah, exactly.
Dino, you were so interesting. Thank you for coming on.
Where can
it so
folks
easy
find
for
more?
us to understand. Yeah, can we learn more about you? If people are interested or love what you're saying, can they find more of you on social media? Do you have any other platforms that you're on?
Well, my website's the best way to find me, danahurtparenting.com. I am in solo practice as a parent coach. I work with parents at all stages and ages, and my goal is to empower parents to feel more confident in their parenting, recognizing that it is an incredibly amazing, wonderful, exciting adventure to be a parent, but it is also extremely challenging and frustrating, and it's only harder today with social media, with a new trend every day telling us what to do. And so, Dana Hurt Parenting is where to find me. I love this work. I really feel like I want parents to feel better and more comfortable in the job of parenting.
Oh my gosh.
Dana, you're the best.
So great.
We could talk to you the entire hour, I think, even as someone who, again,
Dana.
is not parenting anybody, but will be hopefully one day.
Really, really appreciate it. All
goodness.
right, we're going to take a quick break here as we approach 11 a.m. But coming up after this short break, most of us think of science as a reliable source of knowledge. That is not always the case. Northwestern is just releasing this study about fraud within the scientific community. This is stuff we all should probably be aware of before we put too much stock in that latest study. So we're going to be talking with some of the leaders of this study when we come back. Stay with us.
Chicago Now. Now, most of us think that science is a reliable source of knowledge, of course, built on research, peer review, evidence. But
double-blind studies, all that stuff.
Yeah, but a new study is raising serious concern about how that system is being exploited, Anthony Ponce. And we have some new information coming out of Northwestern University. So there's a professor, Luis Amaral, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and his team have uncovered widespread organized scientific fraud from what they say. So we're going to bring in this professor, Luis, and talk about what's going on and what it means for all of us. Let's see if he can join us live.
Professor
Good morning,
Amaral.
Professor.
Did we get your last name correct?
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, thank you for joining us, sir. Let's just start off by asking, your team has evidently uncovered widespread, organized scientific fraud. What is going on?
One thing that is important to highlight is that this does not mean that the majority of scientific research is fraudulent. What it means is that we're finding evidence that there is an organized effort by some groups to produce scientific papers that are not based on real work. And we believe that this is concerning enough that we wanted to highlight this trend so the problem can be addressed quickly and reversed.
So what groups are you talking about, Luis?
So there are essentially two groups of people that will engage in fraud. And it's interesting that the previous feature was about raising children and giving them appropriate values, because, of course, one of the groups is the one of people that have no values, right? Yeah. They want to be famous, they want to be the best, they are hyper competitive, and they will do anything to win at a game, including the game of science. And so by producing fake papers, they can be more productive than regular people, right? Regular scientists. They can produce lots and lots of research that actually contains nothing. The even more dangerous part of this is the people that are producing research that is fake to push a particular point of view. And one of the areas in which this is happening a lot is actually related to vaccines. There have been many groups that have produced fake research in which results were tempered, trying to show that vaccines are dangerous. And I mean, this is one of the most dangerous things going on. Vaccines are incredibly safe. If you ever walk on a cemetery and look at graves from about 100 years ago, you would see the gigantic number of children that would die. And that has stopped because of vaccines. So there are these areas in which some groups are working with some pseudoscientists to push some ideas that will make them money, but are actually very nefarious for society as a whole.
This is so concerning because, yeah, you start with the end goal. This is the narrative we want, and then we're going to just work backwards from there and produce the research that backs that up. Luis, how widespread is this?
So it's still a small fraction of the literature in general, right? I mean, 0.01% or something like that.
Okay.
The reason why we are very, very concerned is that it's growing very fast. And I have to say that the emergence of generative AI, like large language models, ChatGPT, and so on, actually is boosting this ability to create fraudulent science. And so we are concerned about a future in which anyone can produce something that looks like legitimate research, but it's not. And what we found out is these criminal organizations that enable this kind of junk slop to kind of poison the literature because they infiltrate some journals, and when they are there, they are able to kind of get this junk published in what are sometimes legitimate and reputable scientific journals.
Okay, so what can an everyday person do to decipher between real and fraudulent information then?
So this is one of the interesting things, and we hear a lot about people doing their own research, and I would caution about people doing their own research. Doing research is actually something very complicated. We go through an entire process to help people learn how to do research. That's called a PhD. That takes many years and lots of work. So the idea is to try to identify experts that can be trustworthy. And I have to say that I have very deep concerns about what's going on with this administration, because they are firing experts in many, many different areas that are the people required to help us make sense of what the research is saying, how confident we are on some results. I've seen what's going on with the CDC, the EPA, the FDA, the National Weather Service as very worrisome, because we are getting rid of the people with the expertise to tell the public what to trust or not to trust.
This is so concerning because for non-scientists, I mean, Luis, we rely on these publications to filter the bad stuff and separate the wheat from the chaff. So if I'm looking at the Journal of American Medicine, I expect everything in that to be legit, right? As opposed to just some random website, right? I'm getting the rap from my producer, but is there anything that these publications, these medical journals can do to quality check what they're publishing?
So they do, and many of them try very hard. But you have to realize that no system is perfect. Yeah. And so, it's like scientists are not saints, right? They are humans. And the vast, vast majority of scientists wants to do a good job and a trustworthy job. But there will always be some small number of people that have other goals, and those can infiltrate and trick you. And that's why we have things like retraction of studies, because people later on find out that there was an issue and they go and say, look, this study cannot be trusted. We have to take it out of the literature. So people are doing what they can. The issue is that the availability of tools to produce legitimately looking but fraudulent research are increasing. Think about what a reporter has to deal with fakes, right? It's kind of AI can generate things that look real, and it becomes harder, and we all have to develop new approaches to deal with this new reality. And that's what we are calling attention to. Science has enabled many good things. Imagine how many people would have died during the pandemic if we didn't have the COVID vaccines.
We will proceed with caution, sir. Professor Luis Amaral, we are out of time. That's where we're going to have to leave the conversation. But the post-truth era continues. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Luis.
Okay, we just got to be, you have to have your head on a swivel with this information just to make sure we are, especially in this industry,
things
you can't
are ever changing. Yeah.
All the time. Okay, coming up in a few minutes, Gabby gets to upgrade co-hosts. Tia Ewing is going to
maybe
sit right here. Yes. For sure, our 11 a.m. team is in the house. That is going to do it for me. Gabby is going to be here with Tia when we come back after this short break with another hour of Chicago Now. So stay with us, everybody.
Thanks, Antho.
Yep.
All right, welcome back to now the 11 o'clock hour of Chicago Now. I'm Gabriella Primus.
I'm Tia Ewing. Good
so
morning.
Good to have you here. I know, it's good to have a little bit of switch up. Anthony was so fun.
He's always
You're
fun.
much prettier.
Oh, thank you. That's very
No,
nice.
Anthony's
So
great.
are you.
Okay, let's talk about what we're gonna see during the show. So have you heard of this TikTok trend, golden retriever boyfriend?
No, I'm like,
you have not.
I had to go look it up. Once
Tia,
I
you're
saw
like
everything.
you're like the person I would go to for social media trends and knowing what's going on. So a golden retriever boyfriend, it's kind of all in the name, right? They get excited, just a hyped up person. Well, there's also a black cat boyfriend that's trending.
What are they like? More like subdued?
I think so.
Okay.
So we're gonna learn more about that topic and really make sure that we can then share the word for other people who are asking, because we're the social media peeps. And then there's people over 80 and their memories, they rival people decades younger than them. So we're gonna have a Northwestern doctor join us and reveal what makes a superager. And hopefully we get some good advice.
So is that kind of like the 50 is the new 20 kind of vibe?
I think so. I think it's how to grow old and still keep your wits.
Okay. Yeah, and be youthful.
Okay. Be youthful.
That makes sense to me. Okay, so we got to talk about something that is really important, and that's the mRNA vaccines. And joining us right now is President Dr. Bobby Mukamala, who is with the American Medical Association. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully I did not botch your name this morning, and we appreciate you talking about this important topic.
No, you got it pretty darn right, and it's great to be here with you. Thanks.
Oh, good. Okay, so we're already off to a great start. Let's talk about these vaccines and why they are so important right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's vaccines for things that we get when we're kids, right? Like measles and mumps and things like that. And you don't know when you're going to get it, but it's good to have antibodies for it if and when you're exposed. And then something like COVID happens and you can get it tomorrow, right? Like it's blowing up in our country. And so we need good, quick access to something that's going to protect us. And we could go for a regular vaccine, which would take a year and a half longer than it did with mRNA vaccines. And because of the mRNA vaccines, millions of people were saved as far as their lives go. And then probably even more than that just didn't have to suffer through COVID and then have, we all see the long effects of having COVID. You stay alive, but you're not healthy. And so it's nice to have a tool to quickly deal with those things. And now that's at risk when all of a sudden, $500 million, we're not going to do that anymore, right? We're not going to study that. We're not going to evolve that. It needs work, but it was great to have it. And now it looks like we might not.
So you kind of touched on it there, but what are your biggest concerns with this funding cut when it comes to vaccine research?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big time cut to investigate it, right? Like when something is available, but it could be improved, right? Like even with COVID, right? I remember getting my vaccines and I had to get another one and then another one because the thing was mutating and we needed to update it. How cool would it be to have a vaccine that didn't have to be updated, right? But how does that happen? We're not there yet. How do you get there? You got to do research, right? But now we're saying, you know what? We're not going to do any more research on that. It was bad from the beginning. That's not science, right? That's an opinion of science, but it needs to be scientific. And that's why we need to improve it by continuing the research. And then, it's not just the COVID virus, right? I mean, mRNA is something that's been researched to treat cancer, to treat the consequences of having HIV, the Zika virus. There's some pretty cool stuff that it could do. And now all of a sudden, if we're not going to research that, I think we're missing out on something that could truly help us.
COVID-19 really hit us all by surprise. We didn't see that one coming. And here's, I guess, my biggest question surrounding this. There are other diseases that are out there that are maybe in like little small areas right now in different parts of the country that could become a big deal. What does this research, cutting this funding off, if one of those were to pop up, does that mean that the U.S. isn't prepared to handle it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because we need something quick, right? When something pops up, like you said, as opposed to kind of being there all the time and in a lesser amount, then we need to be quick about being able to help people in our country, right? That's what the whole world has to worry about. And now all of a sudden, when you can't be as quick and you're relying on something that's going to take longer, right? We know as doctors and scientists that to do it this way is going to take longer, and to do it this other way, we can go faster, right? And now all of a sudden, those things are at risk. We may suffer, and I don't want to be in a position of being in the United States, and all of a sudden we don't have an answer. But other countries in the world are sticking with something that's science, right? To investigate and look for other solutions. And we didn't. And what are we going to do? We're going to have to go to them and say, hey, What have you come up with, right? Is there anything we can use? That's not where we want to be as leaders in this world. And that's exactly where we're headed if we don't do our research.
This also brings up the conversation of availability and cost. So should families expect changes in pricing and access when it comes to mRNA vaccines?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that if it's not funded, right, and then there's a lack of it, and all of a sudden it becomes something that you have to, deal with your insurance company and say, hey, look, I'd like to get this. And the insurance says, you know what, that's no longer something that's funded. It's not something that the government says you should get, and because of that, we're not going to pay for it. Well, what if your doctor, right? People like me, people like the doctors of the American Medical Association, which represents, the biggest representative of physicians in how we think about taking care of our patients in the country. What if we say we'd like you to get it based on the science that we've learned in medical school all the way through where I'm practicing today, but your insurance doesn't cover it? That's just a terrible conversation to have, but unfortunately, we have to have that with a ton of things like prior authorization and now with vaccines.
Dr. Kamala, I guess my question here is, I want to give you a real life scenario. If there is a new COVID-19 variant that pops up tomorrow, there's no vaccine for it, the funding has gone away, this thing is spreading rapidly. What does that look like for me? If I'm, for Gabriella, for you, if we're out here in the world and we can potentially get this, what does that mean on the vaccine front?
Yeah, I mean, if you could potentially get it, we kind of go back to the original way. I mean, think about how we dealt with COVID before there were vaccines. Staying at home, wearing masks if we had to go out, all of that sort of restriction on the freedom that we want to enjoy in this country, right? And that's kind of the direction we're going back when we don't have something that can help you when you do go to work, when you do go to school, right? And that's the consequence of not having a vaccine. And I don't want to go back that way. I'm sure you don't want to go back that way. You want to be able to go out and do what you need to do for your family, for your friends, for your job, and have an immunity so you're not suffering the consequences. And yet, to your question, that's the direction we head if we don't have something to help you when we need it.
The American Medical Association is made up of all types of scientists, all types of professionals that clearly know science better than anyone in the world in medicine. Here's my question. Why has that body, that group of people, been excluded from the new federal advisory group? Is there any indication as of why? And then who has been replaced? Who's there now?
Yeah, well, so the second part of your question, no idea, right? It would be wonderful to have the background to say, okay, yeah, this person has exactly what we would like to see, the research, the life experience, the professional experience to be able to do this well. But what are the consequences for, taking everybody and showing them the exit door and not knowing who's going to replace them? We have a lack of science behind the decisions that need to be made with science, right? And I can understand sort of questioning, I'm not so sure, should we do this, should we not do that? Who do we ask, right? If I got a lump in my neck and I got to figure out, well, do I do this or do I do that? I go to my doctor, right? And so all of a sudden, to have people like from the American Medical Association that publish, in the previous hour you referenced the Journal of the American Medical Association, otherwise known as JAMA, right? This is our science that's out there. But now all of those opinions are shown the exit door and we have no idea whose opinions are replacing them. It's just not a good direction to go for the health of our country.
So doctor, what can patients, parents do to stay informed, if AMA is no longer part of this vaccine advisory conversation?
Yeah, so if we're not, sending this out from a central, intelligent, hardworking group like used to exist in Washington, D.C., where does that leave us? I live in Flint, Michigan. If you're in Chicago, you go to your doctor, right? And you say, hey, look, I noticed that the recommendations, they're not really coming out with any. We don't know what's going on there. We saw this news segment on Fox, and we've learned that, we should go see somebody. Who do we see? See us. See your doctors, right? But the question is, if you don't have leadership, if doctors don't have guidance from the people that sit down and talk about this every day, then we're relying on our training and whatever we get from our own specialties, which is important. But the more knowledge, the better, right? And that's what we don't lack. So what I would say to patients, talk to your doctor, you guys will do the best you can in the consequence of this sort of decision in Washington, D.C.
You know, how frustrating is this? You're the president of the American Medical Association. I'm sure that took a lot of work, a lot of studying throughout your life to even get to this point that you're in. How frustrating is it to be at this point?
You know, it's very frustrating. And the reason is, you know, I dedicated my career to healthcare in this country because I want to see us get healthier, right? I want to see us live longer, healthier lives. And there are a lot of things we could do from where we are to go in that direction. But to take a backward step like this, to take several backward steps like this, it's disappointing, right? I want to take us forward, right? The American Medical Association wants to improve the quality of life from where we are here, not go backwards and try to get back to where we are here, right? I mean, it's a step forward that we want, not a step backwards. And yet, that's kind of what we've been dealing with lately.
Do you have hope that you guys are going to be able to get back on track?
Well, I hope because of conversations like this, right? I think when our patients, when our communities, when our states, when our country knows what a doctor's perspective is on something, and we can share that knowledge and let them know, hey, you know, this is a problem. We think you should talk to your lawmakers, you know, talk to your friends. Let's get the community, let's get the state, let's get the country going in the right direction. I think that will have influence, right? It's because of conversations like this. So thank you for having more ears hear the opinion of the American Medical Association.
You're very welcome. I just find it interesting that the American Medical Association has kind of been more of like a research body in some ways. And now it's almost like you have to shift to kind of like an advocate. I mean, you've advocated anyway, but it seems like that because of the state of affairs in our country, it's more of like an advocate role in some ways. Okay. Is that kind of how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, so we have the knowledge when we get together in Chicago every summer, and it's the group of all sorts of specialties and all sorts of states that come together to create that policy, and we share that policy with the rest of the country. In addition, we do the research, and that's what JAMA is that I just mentioned, but now we also see as our role helping the public understand why it is that I say something like this, right? It's based on science, and sharing that knowledge with people I think will help to sort of minimize the damage from what's been done and improve the chances of keeping our country healthier. And that's our role, the American Medical Association. That's our responsibility.
Doctor, do you think it's a little unfortunate maybe, you know, if we keep on this track that it won't really be a conversation piece, or, you know, people probably won't be talking about this in everyday life until there is something that needs immediate action, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a bad consequence, but a certainly possible consequence. But we're all about prevention, right? I mean, we would love to keep people healthy so they don't end up in the hospital. How does that happen? When you go in for something, right? I'm an ear, nose, and throat doc. When somebody comes in to see me to get their ear cleaned out so they can hear better, that's a great time for them to ask the question about, hey, I saw this on TV. I saw this on TV in Chicago. What do you think about that, right? That's what we do in our offices. That's how we keep people healthy. And I think we need to make people more aware of being able to ask that question of their doctor, have more doctors available to be able to answer those questions, and focus on preventing disease just as much as we do on when disease hits you, right? And hopefully in a generation, the prevention will make us a healthier country instead of a sick country that gets saved, right? We would love to prevent disease.
Anyone that's watching right now, doctor, if they want to go someplace where they can see, you know, a collective mind of doctors coming together and giving this kind of advice and talking about these subjects, where can they go?
You know, honestly, it's like turning on your TV and listening to the exact conversation we're having. It's like looking for the things that the American Medical Association puts out there for the public to listen to, right? To learn from. And that's out there, right? And so I would just Google American Medical Association and this year, put Bobby in there, right? And see what pops up. And you'll see our opinion on so many things that we want to keep this country healthier. We want to help the people that are watching and listening to be healthier, and sort of be the counter opinion based on science for what tends to be coming out of Washington, D.C. right now.
Yeah, Very interesting conversation and topic. We could keep talking about this
because
there's so much to it. Dr. Mukamala, we appreciate you coming on the show this morning, and thank you for really, giving our viewers a perspective that I think they need, and really slowing down the conversation to talk about something that is so important. We definitely appreciate you today.
No, I appreciate you covering it. We'll see you in June when you come to visit us at the American Medical Association meeting.
We'd love that. Thank you, Doctor.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a very definitely needed conversation to have. I know we have a lot of fun on this show, but sometimes we need to slow things down and give people, the real conversation about things that are going on in the world that, you're talking about at work, you're talking about with your friends, but maybe not having an expert to kind of break it out, which he was.
Yeah, or it doesn't come up in conversation just yet, because nothing has technically happened, which makes it even more scary. So I'm glad we get this kind of long format platform to talk to an expert like that, Doctor.
Yeah, get your wheels turning.
We are going to switch gears just a bit.
Big time.
This is that trend that the Tia Ewing didn't know about yet.
And I'm wearing black.
Topic. Yeah, we're talking about Black Cat Boyfriend Summer. It's opposite than Golden Retriever Boyfriend, which I've heard of many times. So we're going to have kind of an expert come on to talk about that trending topic.
You know what I realized? I'm a super ager because I have no idea what we're talking about. We'll have it, like Gabby said, right after this break. We'll be right back.
I don't know. I don't want it to be a Black Cat Boyfriend Summer, I don't think.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're engaged. I'm married, so we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, but we watch our friends when we go through it or see TV shows and stuff.
True.
It's the opposite of the sunny, eager Golden Retriever Boyfriend that you've heard of before, which is more my type, I have to say. But we're going to be learning more about it because you might have heard of this Black Cat Boyfriend trend going on TikTok right now. It kind of means, I guess, moody, mysterious, maybe a little emotionally unavailable.
Okay,
so
somebody you should avoid.
Maybe, I guess, but we're going to break it down. Well, I'm not. Amy Morin is. She's a best-selling author and psychotherapist here to unpack the psychology behind the Black Cat Boyfriend Summer. Amy, what does this mean? I think I know, but really I think you're the person to really let us know.
Well, traditionally on sitcoms and the conversations and the things that we see in movies, we have talked more about the Golden Retriever Boyfriend, which is the stereotypical, incredibly affectionate, playful, positive person who's excited to see you, and you know exactly how they feel. Well, lately, the Black Cat Boyfriend's been having a moment on TV. And these are more of the mysterious, independent kind of people who might even be described as a bit aloof. and you don't really know how they're feeling. And it's brought up all these conversations on TikTok from people who are talking about whether you can draw them out, help them become more vulnerable. You can figure out how they're feeling, whether there's some fun in trying to figure out what's behind that mask that you see.
So, Amy, I gotta ask you, because the first thing I see when you say black cat boyfriend is I see red flags. Would you say that this is someone that people should avoid, or is it fun to give it a try in the summer?
Well, it simply might be somebody who's a little bit more reserved. They're not going to run to the door to meet you like the golden retriever boyfriend who's incredibly affectionate. It might just be somebody who's more of an introvert. And that's definitely not a red flag. That's an incredibly positive personality trait in many ways. But there's a difference between being a little bit more reserved and being emotionally guarded to the point that you don't show any emotion, or that you aren't going to be expressive, or that you're completely emotionally unavailable. Those would definitely be the red flags to look out for.
Amy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I kind of want to visualize this person. Are there any characters on popular TV shows right now that would be described as like a black cat boyfriend?
Well, you know, in terms of like relationship in general, people have talked about that perhaps Travis Kelce is a golden retriever and Taylor Swift might be a bit more of the black cat in the relationship. And certainly in a lot of today's shows where they have the emotionally unavailable person who seems a little bit guarded, that's the black cat.
So are these like just, you know, like trendy, I guess, descriptors for people? Because, you know, we've had the hot girl summer. We've had the soft girl summer where, you know, women want to be, you know, treated to this, you
Clean
know.
girl summer.
Yeah. So is this like a trendy way of like labeling people that you may consider getting into relationships with?
It is. It's kind of a shortcut to say, I'm just going to describe somebody's personality trait and this one label sums it up. So then we know, oh, that's the golden retriever you're talking about, as opposed to the black cat. Obviously, these aren't cut and dry personality traits. Most people don't fall into one category or the other. And in fact, I've seen some people on social media kind of making fun of this too, where they describe their boyfriend as more like a grumpy golden retriever. Or they might say, I thought my boyfriend was a golden retriever, but he's actually kind of more the black cat in disguise. So people realize that most of us don't fall into these nice, neat categories, but it is an easy way to say, this is how I would describe my personality, or my personality traits make more sense when I describe it this way, or this is an easy shortcut to talk about how we fit together as a couple, or even in friendships or sibling relationships. I've heard people use these terms to describe how two people get along or don't get along, or how they might clash in some ways. And people understand what you mean when you say these things.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't really be offensive, right? But I will say, if someone called me, oh, you're a black cat girlfriend, I'd be like, what do you mean? You know, I'd get offended. But it's kind of just, you know, your personality type. You're not the golden retriever, and that's okay.
And your preference.
And your preference.
Yeah.
Yeah, there certainly are ups and downs to both, the pros and cons. Sometimes the golden retriever can be a bit much for a lot of people. They're kind of people pleasers, so it's not all good about them. And same with the black cat. There's pros and cons to them too. Sometimes they might just take a little longer to get to know, but on the flip side, they might be a little bit too aloof for some people too.
You know, I'm always shocked about what really takes off on social media and what people really gravitate to. I'm like, why that? Why are people so interested in that? Why do you think this has really exploded on social media?
I think because it's just a really fun way to put people's personalities into categories and to describe the mix and the match and how we see people interacting. And for some people, it's like an aha moment of, oh, that's the kind of person that you're dating. And for other people, it's just a way to say, wait, I don't get it. Explain this a bit more to me. So I think there's some mystery and intrigue, kind of like in the black cat personality. And then there's also some fun and excitement, and it's just a new way to describe things that we've been talking about forever, like personalities and relationships.
You know, I've only seen it maybe like a couple of times going through my feed, like this black cat boyfriend. But how are they using it really for social media? Is it showing different couples, like you know, a clip of one golden retriever girlfriend, say, and then the black cat boyfriend? Or is it more than that, where they're picking people on the street and calling them, okay, would this be a black cat boyfriend?
So, yeah, they are definitely looking at TV shows and picking out who fits into which category. But also, some people are handing out tips for how do you handle a golden retriever boyfriend, or how do you take a black cat boyfriend and sort of draw them out of their shell. Here's 10 things that worked for me. Here's what doesn't work. Here's why the matchup between a golden retriever and a black cat can be incredible, but here's some downsides to it. So people are really having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's helpful, I think. You know, because maybe you've never been in that situation with someone before, and you don't really know how to handle the golden retriever or the black cat. It's so funny to label people that way to me. Let me ask you this: you're an author. What kind of books do you write? Tell us about some of your books.
Sure. So my first book was called 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. I like to talk about the habits and the behaviors that keep us stuck and stop us from developing mental strength. And I've gone on to write a series of 6 books. There's one for parents, one for women, one for kids, and my newest one is one for couples. 13 Things Mentally Strong Couples Don't Do.
Interesting. Is that for when you're in a long-term, like you've been in a long-term relationship, or a marriage, I should say, or is it good for someone who's maybe just getting married to read too?
It's definitely good for both. In fact, I have a lot of single people who are reading it because they say, I want to become a better partner someday, or I've struck out in a lot of my relationships so far, and I want to know, how do I get better? So they've been finding that the book is helpful in knowing, in a future relationship, what sort of things do I want to avoid so that I don't create damage or sabotage this relationship.
Now, we want people to read your book, but if you could just give us 3 things that people should not do, what would you say?
If I were to take 3 things from 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, I would say that they don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves, they don't give away their power, and they don't give up after their first failure.
Very good. I love that.
I read also you're a psychotherapist, and you're probably practicing. A lot of your advice, is it about relationships? Is it about family? You know, what are most of the conversations that you have with your clients?
So it all depends. I've seen people who have struggled with lots of relationship issues, people who are struggling with parenting issues these days, things like, do you let your kids be on social media? Do you give them a phone? How does that work? Seeing a lot of stress around work these days too, from people who say, I am working in a hybrid job and that's been stressful, to other people who say, I just can't shut it off. I feel like I'm working 24/7. So there's certainly trends that we see over time, and our digital world and technology has created all new sets of problems that a lot of people just aren't really sure what to deal with right now.
Yeah, I always tell people, I think therapy is good for everybody because you don't realize it, but like as an adult, if you take any type of trauma into your adulthood and you carry it with you, like you got to get rid of that stuff. So I always advocate for people to see a therapist. So I'm happy to know that you're a therapist. I'm happy to know that you're giving advice to people. What advice would you give to someone, because we are talking about relationships and boyfriends and girlfriends, would you give to someone that maybe they're watching us right now, maybe they're looking for love, they haven't found it? What should they be doing now to kind of work on themselves to prepare for that love to find them?
Self-awareness is huge. One of the things we're seeing is so many people are getting tired of dating apps. And one of the reasons that they're getting tired of dating apps is because they read somebody's description of how they are, and what kinds of things they do, and they have an expectation of what this person is going to be like. And then you meet the person, and the description does not line up at all with who you see as a person. And that's why self-awareness is so important. Like, maybe you want to be outgoing, maybe you want to be a friendly person, maybe you want to be positive. But if that's not you right now, just own it and work on yourself. You don't have to describe yourself as the ideal version of you, but to accept who you are, change what you want to change, and say, I'm going to be okay with who I am so that I can meet the right person for me. You don't have to put that idealized version of yourself out there in hopes that you're going to attract somebody. Because we're seeing that so much right now from dating profiles where people are viewing it more like a competition. So they're putting the very best traits forward, things that they wish they were able to do or the way that they wish they were. And then when they put it out there, they're just not getting into the healthiest relationships because they're not matching with the right people.
Yeah, very good advice.
Amy Morin, thank you for breaking down Black Cat Boyfriend and also Golden Retriever Boyfriend and all the other tips and tricks that you have. If people want to buy your book, where can they find it? And also, where can they follow you?
So my website is the best place, Amy Morin, LCSW, as in licensedclinicalsocialworker.com, and my books are available pretty much wherever books are sold.
Perfect. It has been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for all the love advice, all the life advice. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, it's always good
I like
to talk
Amy.
about relationships.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked her the 3, pieces of advice that she has in that book that we could bring, because that's a good teaser.
It is a good teaser.
It's an interesting book. I might have to give that a read. All right, we have another topic coming up. The superager.
I'm transitioning out. The superager is leaving the set.
But you're going to have to watch from downstairs then and let us know what you think about it.
I got to do the noon. But Elizabeth Matthews is coming to sit in this seat, and I'm sure you guys will have a good time talking about superagers. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. We have a new person in the house, Elizabeth Matthews. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, the little IFB in my ear was very loud.
Oh, sorry. And of course, I was like screaming in her ear.
Hi, thanks for having me up.
Of course. Okay, we're going to talk about some trending topics together.
Yes.
We like to scour Reddit sometimes and come up with some topics just to
talking
chat about what other people are talking about, see their comments, because they're always very interesting.
Yes.
So first, we're going to talk about what movies best represent Chicago. That's one of the conversations that's happening. Do you have one that comes to mind that you think?
Ferris Bueller.
That's exactly what I thought.
I think that's a generational thing, right? That's like the generational
And to be honest with you, I've watched a lot of movies, but also I'm not Jake Hamilton, okay?
No, me
I don't have
neither.
him just like in the back of this little noggin and wanting to bring up in a second.
My husband and I will be like, oh, we should watch a thing. And then I'll say, yeah, sure. We get 10 minutes into it and I go,
And
wait,
you
I've
fall
already
asleep?
seen this. I can't remember what I've watched. I have an old brain. Oh, we're going to be talking about superagers.
Yeah, actually, that's going to be perfect. What a great transition.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so let's bring up that Reddit post because I kind of want to read what they had initially posted when they posed this question to
what people are saying
to everyone here in Chicago. So, what movies best represent Chicago? I asked a similar question about literature last week and got some great responses. What films best capture Chicago to you, whether it's the history, culture, or environment? I'm curious what y'all think. For the curious, here's a lit thread. It says, but as you said, I think honestly, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is kind of the answer, at least for me.
It's really
you see all the different hot spots around the city.
Okay, Chicago's a film. Ferris, see, number one. But, it's right up there.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Blues Brothers, of course. Home Alone, of course. Wayne's World, out in Aurora, of course.
Oh, The Fugitive.
Hoop Dreams. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton. There's a ton, Captain Ron. There's a ton.
I can't look at the Harold Washington Library and not think of Batman.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a great city to be able to film in, and there's so many different, parts of it, no matter what kind of film you're producing, no matter what kind of, background, scene, landscape you're looking for, we've got it. We've got the lake, which looks like an ocean. We've got the city, we've got the suburbs, we've got forest preserves,
You got
I feel
that
like
right.
I'm trying to sell it to the film industry. Not that it needs any help.
I think we're missing one on there. Windy City Rehab. I'm a big HGTVer. I'm a big HGTVer.
Sure.
Why is that not on the list? I need to comment on the
film.
post.
It's not a film.
It could be.
Gabby.
It could be, Elizabeth. It could be. Okay, let's talk about the next topic. If you had one word to describe Chicagoans as a whole, what would the word be? That's another question someone posed. It says, I'm really curious to hear from Chicago natives in this subreddit. Recently, I arrived in Chicago. The food is amazing and it is still a lot to get used to. I come from suburbia and I have not spent time around Chicago at all, but I have met some very nice people here. I would have to agree. Do you have a word to describe Chicagoans?
The first thing that comes to mind is just Midwestern.
Yeah.
Or just, there's something about, and I'm such a fan of being, born and bred. I was not born in Chicago. I was born in a very small town downstate. But just, I love that Chicago, this big, beautiful city, is in the smack dab in the middle of the Midwest. And I just feel like we have those values. And
We
it's
do.
not just where I'm from. It's all of the city just has a different vibe than New York or Los Angeles or DC or anything. Also fast. Chicagoans are fast.
They are. They get stuff done.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. I would say hardworking, and that sounds so cliche, but I would say I have a lot of family in Southern California. I spent some of my life in Southern California, and yes, there's great people there. Specifically San Diego, I guess. LA, very superficial, I will say. Sorry if anyone's watching from LA. But I will have to say, for the most part, in my perspective, yes, it is true. They are very superficial. San Diego, they try to act like they're not superficial, but they are, okay?
You see through it.
A lot of other places around the country as well, I think they value a lot of mommy and daddy's money. And I think that Chicagoans, they appreciate someone who worked hard for what they have.
After it. Fast, quickly, with Midwestern charm.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what we tell ourselves.
Okay, so one more trending topic, Taylor Swift and Pillsbury. Did you ever think that they were going to have kind of like a collab?
Do they have a collab?
So,
you got to school me. I don't know
so
what's
actually
going on.
yesterday we had a whole segment with Chris Kay and with Marissa Rubino here at Fox 32, and they broke down the Taylor Swift happenings.
Okay.
Pretty much on, what would that have been, Monday night, she pretty much dropped that there was going to be a new album.
Okay, I knew that
and
part.
they blurred out the album cover and all that kind of jazz.
Okay.
So Pillsbury took it upon itself to, hey, we're going to do kind of the same thing. Oh, but they gave the reveal. It is their new fall flavors.
Of course, yeah, the pumpkin cookies. If you have kids, you know exactly what these suckers are.
Kids and adults alike.
Well, that's true. Right?
They are
You have
so
to-
good.
When you're scrolling, going through the, rolling through the grocery store, and you see the package of, pumpkins or Christmas trees or whatever it is, you got to pick them up.
They go crazy.
It's part of the season.
They go crazy. I will say that those are only good, sorry Pillsbury, but for the first 3 minutes of being out in the oven.
For sure. Well,
After
and
they
you
get
eat
hard.
them fast enough, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Otherwise, just make your own. But then they don't have the cute little imprint,
Exactly. Okay, so we
That's
have,
a cute little collaboration.
we've been talking, T and I, and now you even mentioned it, what makes a superager?
So, well, I hope I do.
I hope so too, but
Don't we all?
I think we're going to get some good tips on how you can become a superager. So I'm going to bring up Dr. Sandra Wintrob. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You spent 25 years studying a remarkable group of people known as superagers. So pretty much, Elizabeth, they're individuals over 80 whose memories are as sharp as people 30 years younger.
Well, then clearly I am not a superager when I can't even remember what movies I watched over the past 10 years.
But do you have people in your family, or at least in your community, someone you run across before and you're like, and they're older and you're like, wow, they are really sharp?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. And what's the key? I think just using your brain, right?
It is.
Constantly, a coworker and I were just talking about this. His mom's 81 and does Wordle every day, puzzles, riddles, reads. You have to keep that brain active. You have to.
And now we have tools like ChatGPT, who that answers pretty much every little question that we have. We just are able to just
for our brain.
Hang out, watch Netflix. Don't even have to really think about what we're going to be interested in because the algorithm has it figured out for you. It's really sad. I think she's probably coming up. There we go. Dr. Sandra Weintraub Is that how you pronounce your last name? Did I get it right?
It is. It is.
Oh, well, we're so happy to have you. So what is the secret? Is it luck? Is it lifestyle to become
Genetics?
a super ager? Genetics?
Okay, you cannot become a superager because part of it is genetic, part of it is what you get in your brain, what you inherit, its molecules, and part of it is also lifestyle. So superager is a term that we actually invented at Northwestern because we were interested in trying to find a group of people who were over age 80 and who had memory function like younger people. We all know those people. They're in our lives. People like, I like to think of Queen Elizabeth and Tina Turner, who are really sharp until the very end. So we defined superager. We sought people like that, and then we studied them to see what are their lifestyles, what are their biology, what is the biology in their brain like. And I think the most important thing we've had to contribute is what we see in the brain. These people are incredibly altruistic and donate their brains for science. And that has been really the most striking thing that we can offer about this unusual group at this point in time. We're still going.
And Doctor, I want to mention to the audience that you're a professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences and neurology at Northwestern University. Let's make sure we get all your credentials in there because you definitely know what you're talking about. What are some of those? You said you kind of look for these traits, you look for this background. What are some that you're running into that seems like across the board it kind of makes you maybe a superager?
Common denominators, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's so we know that in general, like if you take large groups of people and you study their habits, we know that exercise is good for you. Food, eating properly is good for you. If you're depressed, treating depression is good for you. If you have sleep disorder, that's good for you to treat all those things. But if you do all those things, are you going to be a superager? Not necessarily. But you want to make sure you reduce as much risk as you can because we know those things have an impact on brain aging. One thing we learned about superagers is that if you've seen one superager, you've seen one superager. There's one thing they have in common, which is their desire for socializing, for social relationships. They're quite gregarious. They really value interpersonal relations, but that's really the only thing. There doesn't seem to be a special diet or any kind of regimen that they all follow.
Do superagers seek out other superagers?
Yes.
There's like some kind of tingly attraction.
I'm laughing because those who have, we have a very highly selected group. We've defined what a superager is, so we're going to get only those people that fit those criteria. And then when they join our study, they said they want to meet each other. Mm-hmm. So we had a party for them. The first superager party, I think, was in 2013. And they insisted on having an orchestra and alcohol and wanted to meet each other. And so this is a very prominent feature that the superagers share is connection, social connection.
How young is your youngest superager?
Okay, so here's where the definition comes in. By definition, you are not even qualified to be considered a superager until you are 80. Okay. And I know that the term superager has been overused by, I'm glad that people love studying superaging, so it's going beyond Northwestern. But some definitions of superager are different than ours. They could be a 50-year-old who is like a 20-year-old, but that's not our definition. So you'll have to wait until you're 80, so we can figure out if you're a superager.
We got a couple years.
Yeah.
We got a couple years.
Especially me. I'm pretty close.
Yeah, not as much for me. Thanks a lot, Gabby.
Doctor, do we have a lot of superagers running around Chicago?
No. And we don't know. I should say we don't know.
Okay.
I mean, we had to interview something like 300 people to get 30 who fit our criteria. Now, I want to say that our criteria are limited to memory. And the reason we pick memory is because older people, that's the thing they complain about most. But could you be a super like Simone Biles, do a backward flip on a balance beam that nobody else can do. So super is how we defined it in terms of memory. But I'm sure there are a lot of older people in Chicago, Illinois, all across the country who maintain some superness in something beyond the age of 80.
I want to know if there's I'm 39. Is there something you can ask me or a test that you can figure out if I'm going to be a superager, or do I want to know? Maybe I don't want to know.
No, there's absolutely not. But you bring up a very interesting point about tests. I'm a neuropsychologist, so what I do for a living, or partly, I'm a clinician, and I evaluate people who are experiencing cognitive decline. And so we have tests that when you feel you are having a problem, you can come and be tested. We can determine, are you normal for your age? Are you normal for somebody, for you specifically, because we know that maybe in the past you were above normal. Are you still above normal? These tests are not done typically until somebody is starting to experience symptoms, but we are trying to convince people that when you get into your 50s, which is where those so-called age-related changes start taking place, that you get a baseline. We don't know what you were like. You know, if you come into my office and you have a heart attack, we know what your heart was like because you've been to the doctor. But if you come to my office and you say, I'm losing my memory, I don't know what you were like when you were at your very best. So we need to pay more attention to cognitive health, to brain health, and to establish metrics that can be used for early identification. It's not, you can't accept that, oh, they're forgetful, they're just getting older. That's not true.
Doctor, I hear a lot about brain fog. Is that normal? Is that something, if you do feel like you're experiencing brain fog, should you look into it more, or should you think, oh, maybe I'm just tired that day,
or
I didn't eat enough,
mom brain,
or I'm busy?
Can you please just define brain fog for me? What do you mean?
Yeah, so for someone my age who's in their late 20s, thinking like, oh, I can't recall what that person's name is. I don't know
you
what
went
I
to
did
high school with,
or
something,
what I did a few days ago. I'm having a hard time recalling words, things like that. And you could say, oh, yeah, that's brain fog.
Okay. So brain fog is a very foggy concept, and it includes a lot of things, including what you just described. So every person has a moment when, oh my gosh, I can't remember, I saw that movie, I can't remember the name of the movie or the actress. It's okay. But if it happens every day or very often, and if your friends and your close people who know you well are saying, you're really having a lot of trouble thinking of words, that's when you want to seek help, not when you have just, an occasional blip, because we all have that. There's so many reasons: not sleeping, having too much to drink the night before, not waking up on time, or all kinds of explanations for those blips.
You've been studying superagers for 25 years, yes?
Yes.
More than 25 years. Have you seen an increase, a decline? Because I do feel like we're talking more and more about Alzheimer's, more and more about dementia.
So you're asking me if I've seen an increase or decline in dementia, Alzheimer's, superaging?
Superagers.
Superagers. Yeah, as I said, because we're defining them, it's not like we're seeing more. We're seeing a lot because people want to be in our research, and they send me letters saying, oh, I think I'm a superager. So what we are seeing, and I think what the most important thing that we've done at Northwestern in terms of the superaging phenotype is looking at post-mortem brains of individuals who have donated their brains for science after death, who are superagers. And what we have found is that over the age of 65, just about every brain has some Alzheimer proteins. Some have a lot, some have a little. What we noticed, actually the first superager brain we ever studied, I think it was in the 1990s, had one neurofibrillary tangle. And we thought, well, we've discovered the secret to superaging. It's that you don't have Alzheimer's in your brain. And the next brain we got looked like a brain of somebody who not only had a lot of plaques and tangles, but who also had the dementia that accompanies Alzheimer's disease. So we thought, okay, there are several pathways to superaging. One is that you don't make these proteins. The other is that you make them, but in some way you're resistant or resilient to them. So the Alzheimer's story, I think, is we're continuing to really try to figure out what does that mean in terms of the biology of what's in your brain and how much reserve or resilience you have to withstand it.
What's it worth it to a person to know that you're a superager? Why is it important that I might know that? Other than, I don't know, hopefully some sort of sash or badge or something.
It's just a pride of being of knowing that your memory is so good and being in this group of people. There's probably nothing else, and feeling like you're contributing to something you really don't know a lot about.
So over these years of talking to superagers, can you go into a crowd and be chatting with people and kind of identify, hey, wait a second, you might be a superager?
Oh, that's a really excellent question. Me personally, yes, because I've been studying this for so long. But that doesn't mean that they are going to be a superager until I test them and they get a particular score on a memory test. So they could be very gregarious, very friendly, very outgoing, but they may fail my memory test.
I'm going to tell you right now, doctor. Elizabeth, me, Mike Kaplan in a room, I think you could probably point out the superager, and that would be for sure Mike Kaplan, our meteorologist. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm putting him at the top of the list for superagers that I know personally.
Are you calling Kaplan old?
No, I'm not. No, he's not at that point.
No.
He's
definitely not 80. He has to be 80. He's
not 80.
So when he does turn 80,
then he's not a super. He may be heading towards superagedom, but he's not yet.
Doctor, can you do me a favor when he does turn 80? Can you have another one of those parties? And can you invite him? And then can I bring a camera? He's gonna go crazy.
Yes, but first he has to pass our test.
He will. Actually, we promise you he will.
He might end up being a normal ager, which is fine because we have superagers and we're going to compare them to so-called normal agers, which is what happens on average to 80-year-olds.
My money's on superager.
You take 1,000 80-year-olds and give them a test. The average is going to be 5 out of 15.
Wow.
If you look at the amount of variation around the average, in 20-year-olds, it's about this big, and in 80-year-olds, I don't know if you can see my hands, it's about this big. And so it means that those at the very top of the average range for an 80-year-old are really like much younger people. So if Mike meets that criterion, then he's a superager. But if not, he's a normal ager.
He's a superager in our book, doctor. We appreciate your time so much. What an interesting conversation. What an interesting line of work. It's very impressive.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And we are at Northwestern very excited about this work.
And I think we're going to hear a lot more about it. And I think a lot of more people are going to know about these superagers coming out.
Very cool. I hope to be one. I'm going to try to train my brain.
We'll see
Do
about
everything you can to reduce your risk. That's a good place to start.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, have a good
Bye-bye.
day. Oh, man. Okay, our answers. We now have our answers. We know what a superager is.
Yeah,
and now I have my answer that I'm not going to be a superager. I'm sorry.
Nope.
I don't even have any excuses. Oh, I guess I could have a little bit of a lack of sleep, but
yeah,
maybe that's why I can't recall very simple things.
A little bit of it's genetics too, so I don't know, can't help it, right?
Well, I want to make sure that we have a little bit of time to talk about a new show that you are starting. It is called Chicago Live.
Yes, Chicago Live, and it's actually done right here in this very studio, this very cold, chilly studio.
Tell us about it.
Chicago Live, it's going on at 1 o'clock. Do we need to go to a break? We need to go to a break. All right, so more about Chicago Live right after this. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. We were rudely interrupted by a break. We were trying to talk about Chicago Live. And Liz, I want to get right to it because I know we only have a couple of minutes, but what can people expect with the show?
Yeah, so Chicago Live comes on your Fox local app at fox32chicago.com and on the our YouTube channel at 1 o'clock. It's 1 hour long. And you'll see me standing at a desk and talking about what's going on right now in Chicago. So it's Chicago Live. So if there's anything going on live in that moment, we want to bring that to you. That's kind of where we feel like, you know, that early afternoon hour, there's really not a lot of news on, and there is stuff going on. So we wanted to find an avenue, find a way for us to get that to you, but in the most direct way. So you'll see me kind of, or if it's something national, we try to keep it either Chicago or in the suburbs, but if there is something big going on, you know, nationally, if our president's having a press conference or there's a big press conference going around or going on in the nation, we'll take that too, or we'll have, it's a lot of news, it's a little bit of weather, of course the Chicago Bears, we got to talk about the Bears a lot because that's, you know, we are the home of the Bears. But yeah, every day, 1 o'clock.
And will you have still some like lighter local stories going on too?
It's news. Our focus really is on news. We get to have a lot of fun elsewhere, don't we? Like on this show, this is a lot, you know, a lot of trending topics and that kind of stuff. But it's not really a talk show. It's more radio show. It's kind of more let's get down to the nitty gritty. It's also where we can have guests come on and I can talk to them for, you know, several minutes. We don't have to wrap up, and you know, oftentimes in news we have a kind of a schedule to kind of meet, and this is a little more long format, we can breathe a little bit more on this show. So it's great. You guys should tune in. 1 o'clock, Fox local app, fox32chicago.com, YouTube channel. I'll be there. You be there too.
I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you think, like, is it going to be immediate? Like maybe news breaks and it's going to be a little easier for you guys to be able to bring on maybe
Just depends on what's going on. Okay. But I think that's all we have for Chicago Now.
Yes,
I'll see you in about an hour. Huh?
Yeah. Have to watch.
Thanks for having me on.
Chicago Live. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at Noon.
And right now at noon, school starts in just a few days, but the budget is still in limbo. Pair Shuds breaks down the issue that's coming your way, and Cubs fans will be able to say farewell to a baseball legend, Ryne Sandberg. And no rain sweeping through this afternoon. Emily is here to tell us how long the sun will stick around. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tia Ewing. Let's give you a live look outside right now. It is sunny out there. It is warm. I wore black because it's cold in the studio. I know people call, they email us sometimes and say, girl, did you get the forecast? Yes, I know, but inside it can be cool. But it is warm outside and no rain inside, at least for right now.
Not right now. We have full-on sunshine. And one thing that I really noticed this morning, Tia, was the sky was so blue. So we have less humidity around today. So that haze that's been in the sky, we're not dealing with that. It's very comfortable. A lot of us are in the low to mid 80s at this point. We're already up to 83 degrees at O'Hare, 84 at Midway. It's 79 at the lakefront, 82 in Gary, 80 in Merrillville, 82 in Aurora, and 83 degrees in Joliet. Our dew point temperatures, by the way, for a lot of us, they've been dropping into the low to mid 60s, which means that humidity, it's not nearly as high as what we had yesterday. Your afternoon planner looking pretty good. We're going to be in the mid 80s going into about 4 p.m. A lot of us are going to top out right around 85, 86 degrees. Now your forecast low temperatures tonight, we're dropping down into the 60s. So open up the windows, get that fresh air in. It's going to be feeling really nice. And then tomorrow, it's going to be even nicer, lower 80s for your Thursday, but 90s are set to return this weekend. Those details coming up.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you, Emily. Custodians are demanding Chicago Public Schools fully staff all buildings before students return next week. Today, hundreds rallied outside CPS headquarters after the district cut 1,200 SEIU Local 1 jobs just weeks before the new school year. Union members say the move threatens school cleanliness and safety. During the rally, custodians and supporters passed out hand sanitizer, and also this was ahead of CPS's budget meeting. The new CPS CEO is delivering her budget proposal to the Board of Education as we speak, and it's causing